Ethan Parker had grown used to living life on autopilot, the kind of survival mode that single parents fall into when grief and responsibility collide. Ever since his wife passed away 3 years earlier, his world had shrunk into a routine of school lunches, overdue bills, bedtime stories, and the quiet ache of exhaustion that never seemed to fade. His daughter, Lily, was his entire universe, a bright, compassionate 10-year-old who kept him anchored when everything else felt like it might crumble. But while Ethan poured every ounce of energy into being a good father, he unintentionally built walls around the rest of his life, shutting out connection, warmth, and the possibility of love. That was why he never noticed what everyone else could see, especially Maya Collins. Maya had been Lily's elementary school teacher for the past year, a gentle, patient woman with kind eyes and a voice that carried empathy like a melody. She often stayed after class to help Lily with reading, encouraging her creativity, praising her resilience, and slowly becoming a comforting presence in both Lily's life and Ethan's. At first, their interactions were brief, polite smiles during parent-teacher meetings, small talk about homework, quick updates about Lily's progress, but over time, those moments stretched into conversations. Maya would linger after meetings, asking how Ethan was holding up, commenting on how hard it must be to raise a child alone, and subtly offering support that went beyond her professional role. She complimented the way he spoke about Lily, how dedicated he seemed, how gentle he was despite the weight he carried. She remembered details, Lily's favorite books, Ethan's late work schedule, even the anniversary of his wife's passing, things most people overlooked. Sometimes she brought extra worksheets, just in case, or sent messages checking in on Lily's mood, or suggested coffee after school meetings, framing it as a quick chat or a chance to decompress. But Ethan never saw it as anything more than kindness. In his mind, Maya was simply a caring teacher doing her job. He brushed off the warmth in her voice, the softness in her gaze, the way her smiles seemed meant only for him. When she laughed at his dry jokes, when she asked personal questions, when she expressed admiration for his strength, he chalked it up to politeness. He had trained himself not to interpret kindness as interest, fearing both rejection and the guilt of moving on from his late wife. Meanwhile, Maya wrestled with her own emotions. She admired Ethan, his dedication, his quiet vulnerability, the tenderness he showed Lily, and over months, that admiration had grown into something deeper. But she never wanted to push him. She left hints instead, an invitation to a school event as more than just Lily's parent, a handwritten note wishing him a peaceful holiday, a lingering look when he thanked her. Each time, she hoped he might finally notice. Each time, he didn't. One afternoon, Lily invited Maya to stay for a small art exhibition at school, where parents and teachers gathered to celebrate student work. Ethan arrived late, apologizing for his long shift at work, and found Maya standing beside Lily's painting, beaming with pride. They stood together longer than usual, laughing about Lily's dramatic imagination, sharing stories about childhood memories, and for a brief moment, the air between them felt different, warmer, softer, almost electric. Maya gently suggested they get dinner afterward, framing it casually, but with eyes full of meaning. Ethan smiled politely and said he had to get home early to prepare Lily's bedtime routine. Maya nodded, hiding her disappointment behind grace. That night, as she walked home alone, she wondered if Ethan would ever see what she had been trying to say without words. Days later, something shifted. Maya seemed quieter. Less cheerful. Still kind, but distant. Ethan noticed the change, but assumed she was stressed. He had no idea that Maya was fighting a storm of emotion, torn between continuing to hope and giving up entirely. Then came the parent-teacher conference, the moment that would change everything. Ethan sat across from Maya in the classroom, discussing Lily's progress, when suddenly Maya's voice cracked. Her words faltered. Her eyes filled with tears. And before Ethan could process what was happening, she broke down crying, not soft tears, but raw, shaking sobs that carried months of suppressed emotion. Stunned, Ethan asked if something was wrong. Maya wiped her eyes, trembling, and whispered, "I can't keep pretending I'm okay anymore." In that instant, the walls Ethan had built around himself began to fracture, and he realized he had missed something far more important than he ever imagined. If this emotional journey is touching your heart so far, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because the real transformation is just beginning. Ethan froze as Maya struggled to regain control, the classroom suddenly feeling too small to contain the weight of her emotions. He had never seen her like this. The confident, warm teacher who always seemed calm now looked fragile, overwhelmed, and heartbreakingly human. Concern replaced confusion as he gently asked what had happened, assuring her that she didn't have to explain if she wasn't ready. But Maya, shaking and breathless, seemed to reach a breaking point, the kind where silence hurts more than honesty. Through tears, she confessed that she had been carrying feelings she never intended to reveal. She spoke about the quiet hope she had nurtured, the countless times she tried to show him she cared, the invitations she hoped he'd recognize as something more, and the disappointment of realizing he never noticed. "I tried to be patient," she whispered, voice cracking, "but it's painful pretending I don't feel anything." The words hit Ethan like a wave. Memories flooded back, her warm smiles, the gentle concern, the invitations he dismissed, the admiration he assumed was simple friendliness. For the first time, he saw the pattern he had been blind to. Shame washed over him, not because he rejected her, but because he never gave himself permission to even consider the possibility. He admitted that grief had numbed him, that he feared betraying the memory of his late wife, that he had buried every instinct that hinted at love. Maya listened quietly, wiping tears, confessing she never wanted to pressure him, only to be honest before letting go. Something shifted inside Ethan in that moment. He realized that love didn't erase the past, it honored the present. That moving forward didn't mean forgetting, it meant growing. That Lily deserved not only a devoted father, but a home filled with warmth, connection, and emotional courage. He apologized sincerely, thanking Maya for her honesty, and admitted that while he had been blind, he wasn't closed off anymore. Over the following weeks, their relationship changed, slowly, gently, like sunrise after a long night. They started with coffee. Then longer conversations. Then shared laughter that felt lighter than anything Ethan had experienced in years. Lily noticed the difference. Her father smiled more, breathed easier, laughed louder. And Maya, once unsure and heart-weary, rediscovered hope in the space where vulnerability had once hurt. Eventually, Ethan realized the tears that day weren't a breaking point, they were a doorway. A wake-up call. A reminder that sometimes love speaks quietly, until it can't anymore. And when he finally told Maya he wanted to try, not out of loneliness, but genuine emotion, her smile felt like forgiveness, renewal, and a second chance wrapped into one. The man who once missed every hint had finally learned to listen with his heart. And the woman who once cried in silence became the reason his world felt whole again. If this story moved you, inspired you, or reminded you of love's second chances, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional, life-changing stories that stay with you long after the video ends. The real test didn't come when Ethan and Maya began seeing each other quietly, or when Lily started smiling a little wider every time Maya's name came up at the dinner table. It came the night Ethan finally allowed himself to sit alone with his memories. Long after Lily had fallen asleep, Ethan stood in the dim kitchen holding a photo of his late wife, the woman he once promised forever to. For years, that photo had felt like an anchor, grounding him but also keeping him from moving forward. He whispered an apology into the silence, not because he was falling for someone new, but because he had been afraid to live fully again. That fear had shaped every missed hint, every dismissed invitation, every moment he convinced himself that kindness wasn't love. The next morning, Lily surprised him with a question that cut straight through his defenses. "Daddy," she asked softly while tying her shoes, "do you like Ms. Maya the way you used to like Mommy?" Ethan froze, heart pounding, unsure how a child could see what he himself avoided for so long. Instead of deflecting, he knelt down and told Lily the truth, that loving someone new didn't erase loving someone before, and that sometimes grown-ups need courage just like kids do. Lily smiled, hugged him tightly, and whispered, "Mommy would want you to be happy." Those words shattered the final wall inside him. That afternoon, Ethan went to Maya's classroom, not as Lily's father or a confused man tiptoeing around emotions, but as someone ready to be honest. He told her about the guilt, the fear, the photo, and the night he finally understood that her tears hadn't been pressure, they were pain born from caring too deeply. Maya listened, eyes glassy but steady, and when he finished, she didn't rush him or demand promises. She simply said, "Thank you for choosing honesty." Weeks turned into months, and their bond deepened. Through shared routines, helping Lily with homework, grocery shopping together, laughing over small disasters, supporting each other on hard days. But the real turning point came at Lily's school recital, where Maya watched from the audience as Ethan cheered louder than anyone. In that moment, she realized she wasn't just filling space in their lives, she belonged there. After the recital, as the crowd thinned and the stage lights dimmed, Ethan took Maya's hand and admitted something he had never said out loud before, that missing the hints hadn't been ignorance, but fear of hope. He told her she changed that. Tears returned to Maya's eyes, but this time they weren't from heartbreak, they were from relief. The single dad who once lived in emotional survival mode had learned that love doesn't always arrive loudly, sometimes it waits patiently, sending quiet signals, until life forces you to finally listen. And when Ethan finally did, everything changed, not because Maya cried, but because he stopped running from what those tears meant. If this chapter resonated with you, if you've ever missed signs, feared moving on, or found love when you least expected it, make sure to subscribe to the channel. More powerful, emotional stories are coming, and you won't want to miss what's next.